Hi, everyone. Dale Pinkert here with Mike Venezia at TradeGATEHub.com. Mike, how
Good
you
morning.
doing today?
How am I doing?
Yeah, how are
I'm
you
doing,
today?
you know what? I'm doing fine. I don't
Okay.
know if that's a general question. We'll get down to market specifics.
Yeah,
Uh,
you,
let- yeah,
you know,
well, am
there's
I doing
more.
personally?
Yeah,
If I was doing any better, I'd have to announce a stock split, coach. Don't worry about me.
I knew you had one for that.
Yeah, I got a
So,
couple of them. I got a couple. Ask me tomorrow.
yeah, I got a million of them, Jimmy
Yeah.
Durante. So, anyway, buddy, I posted an S&P chart in main chat.
Okay, let's
This
sign in the
kind of
trade.
stuff that
Let's sign in the
people
trade
could
gate.
find here, different people posting, but anyway, I wanted to talk to you about what's happening here in the market because it could be a coin toss, right? So we
You
had
know
that
what?
initial break, and then we recovered. But you see how we never closed back above 45 and a half,
Absolutely.
and we're heading back down. I think the market's complacent that the low that we put in last Tuesday, and you know why, because the woman said she was relieved. All my trades come from
From commercials. Yes, we know
watching
that.
TV.
We know that.
I saw another commercial. Redfin has a real estate commercial. So start selling your real estate now.
Well,
Okay. Well,
Redfin
yeah,
is
they showed some woman hugging a model, putting her leg over the house and saying, "Dibs, dibs, it's mine."
well.
So anyway,
Here's the
and
chart
they
on
showed,
Redfin. Here's the
yeah,
chart on Redfin. So do what you want. And here's this it's cohort or compart Zillow. So
yeah,
you want to step up, by the way. Zillow was 1 year ago today. Zillow was
amazing.
200.
Yeah,
Now, what is that? Cutting by a sixth. Now it's 50.
yeah,
Redfin, 1 year
yeah.
ago today was 100. Now it's 30. So maybe the commercials are all right. I don't know. I certainly want to take a couple of call lottos, like I say, but I would do this about as much as I would do there.
It's amazing how much damage under the averages was done in the market last year, from April on. But that chart that I had up, I know you're not a market forecaster. That's not your thing. You
No, I
just
dig it.
you
I
go
have
with the
enough.
flow.
I'll take a stamp, but here's
All
the
right. So
chart.
what do you think, Mike? Are we going to challenge that low we put in down there at 42.20 and maybe take it out? And if that's the case, what would be your best long candidates on a washout like that?
Okay. Well, it's going to be why it's this. Listen, I'll give reasons in stocks for every scenario, and I don't think we have enough time to go through a lot of scenarios or everyone. Actually, there aren't that many. The bottom line is what I've been doing. First of all, intermediate trading is out the door because, like I said, going back to TradeGATEHub here, and what I said is, uh, going back today. Where is it? The code, the rev. Here's what I'm saying. From high yesterday's, they went from the high to the low of the day in 35 minutes.
Yes,
And by the way, that was the last, that was
the
approaching the
close.
close. So
Yeah.
the swing trading to me, which in a speculative account is my worst area as of now. I'm not adding. My active trading is at account highs, and the fund is rotating. And that's a marathon, not a sprint. With that being said, I have two answers for that question. First of all, Thursday, I think, could be a binary event, which is CPI.
Right.
Earnings season is coming to an end. We'll go through a couple of charts on how earnings. We can look at how some of these earnings are played to see if they're selling the news or selling the rips on news, which is that a lot of them are doing that. It's even evidenced on Facebook is getting weaker than Amazon is getting stronger. So I use that as a gauge. So it's either
Okay.
very, very short-term trading, and my sentiment and all my indicators, and I didn't make them up, then I didn't make them alone. Believe me, most of my peers, if not all of them, use these indicators, and we're going guys that use 30-year veterans are saying short-term we're overbought, I'm oversold. But I'm not, like I said, the chop is going to be prevalent. If you're a bull, you don't want to start adding now before the CPI number.
Okay.
If you're a bear, obviously you've got a lot of good positions, unless you pick the absolute bottom or watching the way too many commercials. Then you're going to probably wait a little bit to take some off. So, I have a short term. I'm buying some things right now. Like I have Square right now. I'm not adding to Square. I'm going to wait for that a little. I'm not going
Okay.
to put my other toe in the pool. I'm not going to flinch. Don't get me wrong. I'm not flinching, but I'm not adding. Other things I'm taking off. And if you want to get down to the macro view, what I like from one of my longs and shorts, I can tell you now on a 6 to 10 month horizon. I could tell you now until Thursday. So I don't know where you want to go with that. I don't want to mean to complicate
Okay.
it, but I know this is what I do, and I have a lot of answers for a lot of questions.
Yeah. I'm just thinking if there's one more washout, everything will get cheap. And best of breed in what sectors should that event occur? Do you have a plan for, say this market, we have another sell-off? What am I looking to accumulate? What would be, I don't believe it would be Peloton. I know
No, it
you're
wouldn't,
showing
but the
it here.
stock was, listen, this you want to talk about? Well, I got to answer this just because it's in front of me, and I think everybody would appreciate this, even if we're going off in a tangent. So Peloton fired the CEO.
Yeah.
And, that was the baby out with the bathwater situation. Everybody flinched at 6:30. And by the way, if it was that bad, it would have gone down a lot more from 28 to 20. Well, actually 25 is not bad. So it went from 25.50. Now it's at 35. Now you're talking about a major move here. And obviously that's firing the CEO is, that's cleaning house and saying nobody really has a say. And I think they adapted the poison pill as well. But bottom line is, I don't care what it does. The stock in 3 days in a row has traded 100 million shares and has had its $7-8 range. You got to be in it no matter what. But
Nice.
It isn't Peloton,
Okay.
Coach. I'm sorry. I have a couple of answers for you. Overstock is one of my favorite positions going forward.
Okay.
Okay. I've
So
liked it.
if Overstock retested 40 or even made a marginal new low, that'd be an add-on for you down there.
It would be an add-on right here, an add-on. I like it from a macro view. Don't get me wrong. I was a little early. I really didn't have as much confidence in. I should listen. The stock off the bottom made a move from 38, to 52. I'll take $14. A big move. I mean, from here it's 80, but $14. I have to take some time off the table, especially since I've been buying it right here. This volume bar, this bottom, I've been buying it since like 58. And you asked me a question about where is my line in the sand? This is my weekly chart. And the 200-day, which we all know is the big daddy of them all. So 43 is my line in the sand. And I'll go back to a daily. So 43 would be.
Yeah, pull
right
back,
about
but
here
not a new low.
Yeah, no, not a new. No, I'm not buying a new low. No,
okay. All right.
Another stock I like Nutella. I took 80% of my position off yesterday because I had to. And like I said, I started buying the stock at a gap a little bit, and it's part of the XBI. And it's a big, listen, it's no surprise here either. And if you want to compare Nutella to the XBI, I mean, this is good. You have to, this is a best of breed. So Nutella is it's an advantage. Unfortunately, I think it got battered down because it's one of Kathy Wood's favorite positions, but even they couldn't beat it down. So I like Nutella here. It held a gap. As I said, I'll go to TradeGATEHub in a second. But by the way, a week and a half ago, the stock was 80. And if you'll see it yesterday, I was selling some right at the 50-day. And everybody knows my favorite line in the sand for a short-term trade. I start shorting stocks at the 50. That's where my overhead resistance is. So why wouldn't I take some off here, especially when it's close
on a daily time frame?
What's that?
On the daily time frame.
Yes, on the daily.
50 on the daily.
Yes.
Okay.
So I took some off there, and by the way, I did post it, and I should post it because that's one of my favorite ones going longer, and I will add to that on a dip. Now,
so you have the 50, the 200. What's the third MA in there?
Hold on, let me go to.
Looks like you have 3 of them in there.
I have the 8-day, the 20-day. These are all you could see in my middle of my. Hold on.
Yeah, there you go.
Screen here.
Okay.
My daily charts. The 8-day is in red right here.
Yeah.
The 200-day is bright green because that's where the money is. The 50-day is blue because it's my favorite color. My eyes go to blue. And the 20 days is a white thing. It's just whatever, it's there.
You're the best. So let's talk about the flip side of the coin now.
Sure.
So, I was trying to top pick WTI last week. Of course, it didn't work. We're making new highs here. Are there any signs in energy-related issues of topping pattern, Mike? I mean, the rubber band can always stretch further than you think it can. And, that's the way energy feels to me right here.
Well, it does. And one of the points and the reason why we have the YouTube channel for TradeGATEHub, which, by the way, I don't want to minimize anybody else's efforts, even ours, but I think it's a great, I mean, if I had, I mean, forget about it. You know what I mean? I'd be on the cover of Forbes right now if I had of these tools when I was starting out. My learning curve, forget it. I got beaten. Whatever. But what was the question, Coach? I'm sorry. I was looking at the TradeGATEHub. About how RSI, what the predominant themes are going back in
Yeah, we're
TradeGATEHub
talking
is,
about oil. Yeah, talking
yeah,
about
no,
the,
it's that the RSIs can stay. And you know what? It was perfect in Lewis's trade. I'm getting back on track. Somebody had my eye. Is Exxon, which, you know what? It was a better buy, on the dip instead of
yeah.
this. And by the way, Exxon is a perfect example. Excuse me, on RSI. My quotes are sticking. Hold on a second. That's what happened. So I got it, Lewis. Chill out. I got Nevada. You know what I mean? So
That
that
sure
was the
looks
RS.
right for a pullback, but yeah, everyone has the potential Ukrainian situation there back of their mind. In fact, I talked to Trader Vic. Remember Sperando?
Yes, I know. I saw the interview.
And
Yes.
okay, and he said he's going to be with us next month. And he was saying, I said, so do you think we'll see 120? He said by March.
Well, obviously I go by the best of breeds, and then in
Yeah,
this sector I go to the worst of breeds. I want to see if they're squeezing the small ones, are taking advantage of the people that still haven't said, "Oh, this stock is a dog." So let's
Uncle.
look at something like
How
a
about that
rig.
volume, 50 million shares that you were showing there on that last chart? Seemed like a pretty high volume print, and it's all green.
It is, and you know what? It even back and tested it, and that was the short term, that
Yeah,
volume. Well, that's what we were talking about. That was the earnings, and that was when X on the RSI. We did the video of it, and you know what? Then I started looking at Chevron, and then I looked at ConocoPhillips, which, by the way, had earnings, and this sold off a little bit on earnings, but and it was 2 days ago. But you know what? That was people taking profits. That wasn't people saying that buy the sell the rumor, sell the news.
the RSI pattern, Mike, in the last two or the first one was much stronger than the ones you're showing now, especially this. You see, at new highs, we're not confirming the RSI's under the previous peak.
But that's in our past history, Coach. You notify Lewis. I got you. It's like Lewis. Like I have 8 questions in a row. Relax. Listen to Lewis. Listen to what we're saying instead of worrying about Snap, about a bond issue. What am I saying? What was the question, Coach?
You can't please all the people all the time.
Well, but I'm saying he's Snap after a bond issue. I don't know about Snap after a bond issue.
You know
And
what?
he's
I
telling me
remember.
I'm getting trades from Lewis that telling me Snap is going to 30 after a bond issue. So
You know what? I remember you telling Lewis last week before Starbucks reported not to buy it before earnings,
well, that
and
was
it may have recovered, but it was down sharply after earnings.
well,
Starbucks.
well,
Good
those were
advice.
that was the
Sometimes the best advice we give are things that don't show up on people's P&Ls. Is them avoiding a bad idea.
Well, I'll tell you, it's showing in my P&L because the way I trade, I like to be a swing trader. And as everybody knows, I have 3 funds. The majority of the action, for lack of a better term, is the active account. And I like to set a bar. I don't like to be compared to one. And I don't want to, that's not an egregious or a cocky statement. That's just how I do it. And, there are a lot of, looking at charts here, there are a lot of times where egos could have gotten involved. I'm even talking like something where at Disney, you know what I mean? Disney 5 months ago goes from 200, basically goes down by 50%. If you're Disney, I had this in the fund. I didn't have an ego selling it at 160. You know what I mean? And I was down, I lost 12 points on Disney. It bothered me more than anything else. But you know what? I don't, a lot of fun, that's what Disney's doing. So even the blue chips are,
That Mike, you're just proving the point. The only thing we could control is risk, and what great risk management to get out while it was breaking down and not sitting through another 40-point decline in Disney.
I did this. Well, first of all, it's my duty. I was doing the same thing in
Well,
Lewis.
some
Now,
people freeze like a deer in headlights and can't cut the cord. And, it's okay to be wrong. It's not okay to stay wrong.
no, I understand that. And one of my
Yeah.
work, one of
You're great with risk management, man.
no,
I
but
mean, that's why you're a successful trader. You don't get stubborn and marry things and average out and, get stubborn. I'm sure it still happens rarely, but that's the key, is that to get out of the way when something isn't working instead of beginning to hope,
well, the
you know?
bottom line is, and I don't want to boil it down to gambling because at this level, it's not. It's risk management. I don't care what my mom says. I'm only kidding. You know what I mean? You have to have a chip in a chair. You ever go? I mean, I grew up around the racetrack on a high level. Don't get me wrong; it wasn't anything dirty, but there's nothing worse than going broke. You can't. Then you
No,
got
there
nothing.
is not.
Then you
Yeah.
got to watch. So, and by the way, it doesn't have to be that extreme. One of my better qualities, and isn't Pat Mike V on the back hour. It also negates it. Is I don't have 7-figure days. I'm having more, but I don't have 7-figure losing days. The key is having your winning days better than your losing days. But I got caught. My work. Hold on a second, Lewis. I'm getting back to what I'm saying. I want to harp on Lewis. I got all your questions, brother, including the VOD. But my worst loser of 2021 was a part of a stock that's in the XBI, and this is the XBI. I did have a lot of longer term positions that I cut losses on. AUPH was one of my better picks, my top picks, if you will. And
Yeah.
I like this around 24, and I had a decent size, but went to 15. But when the XBI has literally its worst year in 10 years, as every other index is the XBI, breaking high, that's what happened. And I didn't get caught up in this BLI, which, by the way, it turns into a position, and I monitor it greatly, and my ego's not stepped aside here. Insiders buying, the CEO's turning around. You know what I mean? I don't need that much to get back. I need 13 or 14. And if something else happens, much like an overstock, I will sell it. There's plenty of cap left, but that's where one of these trades turn into a position. But aside from that, for example, I was underwater in Nutella, and I had to or overstock, but I had to make, I don't care what it was. This was a tactical play, and look at overstock now, by the way, giddy up. You want to talk about relative strength.
Yeah.
That's relative strength in a stock that's up 3% and every other one's down. We like that. Square. I want the Square. I'm going to look at Square never broke the 102. I got to get back to action here. So Square, the line in the sand is here. This is like a head and shoulders. I want Square at least 105, the whole number, to base to where I build more. But I do like the fact that PayPal has based a little bit. And by the way, one day doesn't make reversals. I don't want to say that's base, but the other ones seem to show a little bit of life. SoFi net was up $11. Piton is still ripping. My God. I'm going off on a tangent again. Labor.
Yeah.
Where's Nutella?
I wonder how many retail investors threw in the towel down there in Peloton, rode it all the way down. And
well, I understand, but it's
just because they like the bike,
the reason why everybody got,
130?
well, I like the bike. I like, well, what do I like? I like, what do I like? It's $3. I don't know what to compare it to. What's a cheap stock right now?
SNDL.
Oh, yes. Well, I don't go there. I'm not going to go there. I'm on tape. I know what you were saying, Coach.
Yeah.
Here's this DXC, by the way. That's still going higher. But Nutella,
Wow.
look at DXC. I did the video. I talked about this yesterday about this was the RSI situation that we talked about yesterday on camera.
Nice.
I wasn't in it,
Nice.
but Nutella, I had to take some off, but I'm going to add to it. Don't get me wrong. That's in like that proverbial triangle situation.
Yeah.
Overstock is acting better than it should, in my opinion. Especially
crypto had a great day yesterday.
Which one?
Crypto.
Yeah, it did. But I'm looking at my chart right now. All the other ones are down. Ethereum's down. Coin's down. If you see on the left. So all these other ones have pulled back. I'm not saying sold off. As overstock sitting up $2. So overstock's up $2. Bottom right here. I have what? I have Amazon down 34. Crypto's down. And every other stock in this proverbial sector is down. So I like that. That's good for
Yeah,
them.
showing, yeah, it's good that it's up on a day the crypto's down. It's kind of differentiating itself and showing relative strength.
There
So,
you go, Harley Davidson. I might put a listen. I might little think about this a little bit, but if I would normally try, first of all, this is third day up on Harley Davidson, right? Third day's up. I've been working. See that? Hold on, let me take off this thing right here. 3 days up right here. Boom, 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 pull. Let me even give an example of a couple of days ago in the 3 day up. Oh, this is a weekly. Roadblocks. Let me clear the last 3 days. 1, 2, 3, pull back.
yeah,
Overstock even.
I like your 3-day up rule
1,
for
2,
selling
3,
longs.
pull
Yeah,
back. Nutella.
pattern recognition.
1, 2, 3. And by the way, these pullbacks matter. The third day up on Nutella was 100. That pullback went
Sure
from
they do.
100 to 91. That's $10 on I have 3,000
Yeah.
shares. You know,
Yeah.
it's a $30,000 move. I have to monitor that. So that's why I did it. So let's go to Hog to reach my point. The reason why I wouldn't get that juicy on Hog is because it's above the 200-day moving
Is that
average.
earnings, today's bar?
Yes, it did.
Okay,
So this is 3 days up. The RSI is
Wow.
overbought. I'll go to the weekly. I know it's a lot of short squeezes. It's also a big activist takeover. This is the weekly right above the 50-day. So you know what?
That looks
I'm
pretty
surprised it
bullish,
might
man.
pull a DXC and it could either pull a DXC and do that, but I don't like the rest of the sector. I know but I also don't like this. General Motors is down 2.5% and
Yeah.
completely breaking down. So I don't think there's all of a sudden everybody's going from cars to motorcycles. So if I want to do something here, this is an advanced trade. I'll probably look for this to do some sort of print of volume, which it hasn't done yet. And then I'll look for maybe to go below back to 200-day. And that's where I'll enter the trade on the third day up. The 200-day here is, if you look on the 40 right here, look at the
Yeah,
green.
see it.
So my 200-day is 40.58.
Okay,
So the also thing that I don't like is the 40 is the whole number, and everybody knows that options are being driven. So I might pass on that, but that's something that I normally would like on a third day up. And I'm not looking for it to go down, but that's a trade. You know what I mean? Maybe I make 80 cents a dollar on 3,000-4,000. I want to stay sharp. You know what I mean? It doesn't, I'm not saying I don't believe in the story, but with General Motors down like this, with the third day up and the fact it's got a little bit of resistance, even the line here. So, you know, that's all. There's better out there, but those are things that I look at.
looks like a breakout coming there, Mike. You know, I want to switch gears from markets to psychology and looking at what it's like to be in the business. And I know you're going to take a little break. Okay, so you're going to take a little break, you're going to take a vacation, something traders rarely do. I can't remember, you know, it's been a while for me. And also, when you do take a vacation, do you hold positions through the vacation? Do you look at your portfolio through your vacation? What do you recommend for traders with your experience of having been in the market so long and having, you know, taking positions with you on vacations, I'm sure. How do you handle it so that the markets don't interfere with the period of recharging your battery?
I don't know. I don't have any frame of reference anymore. I'm going to tell you how you know what I mean?
Yeah,
The cliche that the worst day of the week used to be Friday. That's shifting a touch. Don't worry, Tim. How am I going to handle it? Listen.
I mean, you're going to maintain your book.
It should be
right?
an all or none thing. You should either look or don't look, in my opinion.
Okay.
Because
What
if
are you
I
gonna
get
do?
looked, it's like it's like window shopping. I got 20,000 in my pocket and I'm window shopping. I like something. I'm not going to keep walking. I'm going to go in.
Okay.
I could use a strip club analogy, but I'm a gentleman.
Okay,
I'll tell you this. I asked the team, the equity team, even Francis this morning, to give me I'm going to look in the fund because it's a marathon. I'm going to look on the macro. I will place positions, especially after Thursday CPI. I will place positions in the macro fund. I will not. First of all, I'll be honest. Not that it wouldn't be anything else. I have a high win percentage of vacations. I do. You want to know why? That's because I
Okay,
usually do
I'm
the
so glad
well, I
I
usually
asked.
put the best of breeds and start small and add the winners. You know what I mean? I'm
Yeah,
not looking at the thing every day and starting adding the losers and going to the bathroom with my wife over 2,000, 4,000 shares of hog. I'm not going to do that. I didn't get to this point to do that.
right.
I will not be active in the active account because you
You
have to
got to
be.
be there.
Well, I respect the markets are greater than all of us. I always say I respect. I'm not going to do that. My process is too hard. I work too hard at my
Intense.
process, and it's
Yeah,
hard as it is.
yeah.
So I don't do anything egregious like that. Plus, I have no edge, even from a gambling standpoint. There's no edge
Okay,
there. So if you want to know, I'll look on the long term. Yeah.
okay. I suggest that, Mike's got a different role. He's, got these long-term portfolios. If you're just a short-term trader and a scalper or a day trader, short-term, my advice would be to just get flat and
This is my only position in my act.
detach.
What am I? This is my position in the active account right now.
Okay.
That's it.
But if you have a large portfolio, you can't do that. Just get flat. I mean, just the cost of
No, that's the
transaction
active
costs.
account. I'll show all
Yeah,
accounts. I don't
tax
care.
consequences, everything. But if you're just trading FX, CFDs, and you're not a portfolio guy, you're just trying to pull some pips out of the market, just get flat, let go, and relax, and don't watch. You might Jones a little bit, but that's my recommendation.
Look at the oil today. I'm Jones and looking at ConocoPhillips. Uh, listen, let me get back to let me leave my mark for lack of a better term,
Okay.
and give some prudent advice on going forward. Is this all right? The CPI is Thursday, and that's the real mover. Anything that's going on right now is really Lewis. I'm going to answer your questions. Is adjusting. So like I said before and after, and I'll close with this, the swing trading, taking positions, like I say, when a market makes a high from a low in 35 minutes and you have a stock and you're having stocks like Amazon, having the largest market cap days in history, large, and you have Facebook doing the complete antithesis. You either have to be very active and tactical, or this is a plan like the overstock. I'm not saying to do it. This is, like I said, I'll reevaluate. This is not, I'll show my position. I have no problem. I might add, but depending on Thursday and how things act and whether I check in or when I check in, long term will be predicated upon what's doing what and how things adjust. And I'll get in touch with my peers and everything like that going on Monday. But there's why even bother? You know what I mean? There's enough movement. Look at Peloton. Peloton moved $10 already. Baba looks good right here. There's plenty. Let me look here. We'll go to our trade view. I say I leave off all the time, but I always start continuing. I don't know the passion part. Here, let's go to the stock page on TradeGATEHub. So let's go to our top US gainers. All right. SOPA up 73%, has volume looking right and right. UCL, huge range. Piton, as we said before, obviously. VLDR, Hog. There you go. Where's Hog right now?
Oh.
Hog, 41.13. I'm going to save myself 11 cents. There's plenty to do, and these have range and volume. So be tactical. If you're trying to, even take that oil position, which seems to be matriculating right now, you know what I mean? Take half off because they're going to wipe
There you
it out.
go. Bernard Baruch said you never go broke taking profits. He had a couple of good clients, the Rockefellers and Kennedys.
That's correct.
Had a nice book.
Here's the chart on Oxy now. Am I mad? No. I mean, this could very easily, go back to any type of highs. Piton's still going. I'm embarrassed. But look at Piton. There's the 50-day. So we see where it holds here. Overstock, I jinxed it, square back down. I don't know why I'm not getting this right here, the quotes. But the market, listen, this is what the market's doing right now. As of a 10:30, an hour into.
Yeah.
So, this is the range. It's not, it doesn't, let me go to the 2 weeks, and everybody knows the numbers on our range. So this is what you're dealing with right now on the ES. That's my range. So you're dealing with 44.90 to 44.50. Anything over these are breakouts. So between these ranges to stay tactical and don't do anything. If it goes above the range, have a plan and go with it. Maybe you want to reshort Facebook or whatever, but this is the range. It's going to be a 50 handle range, and it's not that much until Thursday. So, don't let the trades turn into all these fundamental principles. Everybody should at least know what to do to a degree. Here's the list of what to do. Boom, this is the menu, and we give you the movers. So just stay within the disciplines and just stay tactical. That's it. I mean, it's all fundamental from here. You know what I mean?
Enjoy your break, my trading
I'll
morning
try
brother.
to. I'll try to roll blocks.
Keep in touch and recharge that battery. And thank you for doing this. I learn from you every time I talk to you and different aspects. Plus, you know what? It's fun.
It is fun. Listen, it is. If it was easy, it wouldn't be fun. That's why the game
Yeah.
can't be. By the way, let me give one last pick. I am going to start to buy calls. I'm not sure a common stock. This is one of my other favorite picks, CFLT. And I'm going to let everybody do their own diligence. It's fresh money. It didn't. You know what? You're going to compare this to the Nasdaq. I mean, this stock it's one of these. It's one of these. Just do your research on this, because I'm not going to give too much away, because when it goes, everybody's going to say nice trade and they're not going to know why. But this is a good IPO. It pulled back, and you know what? Any pullback it's had has been outperforming the Nasdaq. It even looks wonderful here as compared to something like an AFRM. Come on.
Oh yeah.
Or like
Night
a
and day.
PayPal.
Night and day.
So the CFLT
Yeah.
is a fresh, sexy stock, and it's something that I'm going to start accumulating. And
Yeah.
I have small
Looks
calls.
like there's some definite support of this stock by money.
Yeah, I like this company. It's fresh, and that's what everybody wants now. You know what? Even I admit, it's not why I'm buying anymore. The squares of stale trade. I'm not going to flinch. I'm not adding to it, but I know it. This is the same frozen rope as something like an overstock did. It's the same thing, but I'm not confident, to the add in now. I'm just not going to do it. I'm going to wait for my signal, but same type of situation.
So you can see, Mike has composure and passion before he takes a trip. So anyway, you come back fresh, even though I've never seen you not be fresh, Mike. So have fun.
But you know what? I've already been. I'm already refreshed thinking about it. I don't even want. If I told my wife, just the very thought of going. I'm serious too, by the way, to a degree.
Yeah.
The very thought of going. Well, look at Pfizer washed me out. So I almost ready to get back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I almost got the. Yeah, but that's it. But anyway, listen, trade well. I'm going to be. Listen, I have a responsibility. You know what? I got to answer a couple of questions from Lewis. So anybody wants to sign off, they can. But I gave Lewis my word because I gave my word. And B,
Go
Lewis
ahead,
asked
buddy.
good questions.
Yeah.
Lewis, he wants to know about the yields going to 2. Coach, is there more room on the yields?
Yeah.
Okay, I agree with that.
It could spike above. Everyone's looking at the same number. When everyone looks at the same number, it either doesn't get there or it becomes inconsequential. I've seen counts up to 220.
Nevada, do I like it? Nevada. Lewis asked about NVDA.
Yeah.
And am I on the chart? You know what? I would, because these are when the NASDAQ firms are stabilizes, they're going to start, even algos. Wow, they're going to say Nevada's over the moving average. It's hold pretty well. It's on a healthy pullback. It's on the best of breed. AMD. Yeah, I would. I buy AMD in Nevada. Yes, I would. Snap. I don't know. I don't know about Snap. I don't know.
That's fair.
What do you think, Coach, on that chart?
I don't know is the right answer.
I don't know. Twitter has earnings this week. I mean, I don't like the negative pin action in the rest of the group. I mean, look at pins. Pins should be up. Pins is down from when Snap reported. Facebook took the excuse of the Snap profit to sell off.
Yeah.
So Snap could be, like I said, I don't see many stocks go. I don't see many cancer stocks that did stage 2 cancer go up 50%. This did. So I think the move may be out. It probably needs another catalyst. It's probably in a resting phase. The move, I don't know. I just don't know.
And remember when you were younger, how hard it was to say that.
Well, I don't know about that, Coach. You got to beg to differ. I was never one short on opinions.
Instead of
look
I don't know, you know, I would try to know when
Well,
there
this
was
is one of
really
my
nothing
dad's
to know.
lessons that tomorrow's the day. Okay, you know, this is my dad's thing. He never spoke that much. He says, I never learned that much with my mouth open.
Great.
So, you know,
Yeah.
I don't, you know, I don't know if the apple fell far from the tree with that one, but
Yeah.
you know what I mean? But everybody trade well. Coach, good luck on
Thank
the
you,
rest
Mike.
of the, I expect the rest of the TradeGATEHub community here to pick up the slack and communicate. I'm serious. So everybody trade well, have a plan, beware of the CPI number Friday. And I'm looking forward to getting back, guys. So trade well. Thanks, guys.
Have a great trip, Mike.
Cheers.
That's a wrap, everyone. Hope you enjoyed it. Mike V taking a little rest, but I bet he'll be trading. Who's taking the over and under on this? I bet Mike trades. Okay. Take it easy, everyone. Remember, don't just count your shares, count your blessings. I'll be back here tomorrow with an update. And Thursday, we're going to have Ben Maldonado with us to talk about cycles and market geometry. Adios.